What do you know of incels, Adam?
Well, I've been on various internet forums and things, and I've seen them. And to be honest, most of the time, I think it's just men trying to express themselves and being labelled misogynists because of programs such as the one I'm on now, and the constant sort of anti-male rhetoric on the BBC and the kind of barrage of misandry, if you ask me, on BBC Radio 4, which turns men off women, quite frankly. And I think if you want to address the issue of incels, and if there is such an issue as incels, and it's not just a label which has been given to a certain group of men, then you need to look at the larger social structures that are causing it.
Can I ask a question, Adam? Would you describe yourself as an incel?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that, Jeremy. No, I wouldn't describe myself as an incel because in the past I've not been celibate, and I've not been celibate, and also I'm a bisexual. So no, I wouldn't describe myself as that.
I didn't know that's a dimension. I hadn't even thought that you can't be an incel if you're bisexual. Matthew.
Adam, can I ask a question? If you feel it's men that's expressing themselves, and that's sort of fine. What do you think people are trying to stop you from expressing if this is just men expressing themselves, speaking in a certain way about women?
Men expressing their feelings, expressing how they feel about women, and expressing their experiences and why their experiences have turned them off women.
And you don't feel this leans into misogyny in any way? If it's, I dislike this woman because she's potentially rejected me and it's turned me off women and I'm very angry about it, because that's the picture that's painted here.
I think you need to look at misandry instead, and the fact that women constantly want bad boys, and it becomes like a competition as to who can behave the baddest.
Do you know?
And the different spheres, the way men in the workplace are required to be really quite
fascinating.
womanly.
Let me bring in we only have one woman on the panel. You're saying that we're anti-male. We've got 3 out of 4 blokes here.
I've got to say, Adam, I'm pretty shocked by some of the stuff that you've been saying here. So you don't believe that the incel online community is a problem at all. You don't view it as misogyny. Can I just ask, what has your relationship with women been like in the past, and do you think that has impacted your view of women?
I think being bullied by women in the workplace has impacted my view of women. Yeah, I think it's being expected to be sort of ultra masculine in some ways, and has impacted my view. And
to be ultra masculine.
Yeah, not to have any emotions or feelings, and just to be really treated like absolute rubbish, to be honest, and by women, and sort of to be bitched about all day, if you like. Oh, and you're going to say, oh, that's gendered language. Well, so what if it is? It's an accurate description, quite frankly.
Well, let me bring in the professor here. I'm afraid to say, I think we do have an incel on the line here, Professor. So what would you say to Adam?
So I think this really speaks to one of my central points, which is there's this schism that's growing between men and women. The one thing I would say in Adam's favour is that a lot of men feel like when they have frustrations around women that they're not allowed to talk about it, and that's why they retreat to some of these online spaces, and that's really where the misogynistic views fester. But it really boils down to this. I truly think that, and some of your viewers will know people in their life who, maybe they're a woman who says that they hate all men, or maybe they're a man that says they hate all women. If you think about people like that, who are basically saying, I don't get on with 50% of the population, I challenge your viewers to think, do they know anyone like that who's actually happy with their life? Because I've never met someone who's happy hating 50% of the population. And I think we're becoming more and more polarized in the country. Politically, spiritually, philosophically, and I think we need to be brought back together because we do need each other. Men need women, and women need men.
Adam, what would convince you that
those barriers?
Okay, Adam, what would convince you that women are not all bad?
I don't suggest that women are all bad. I suggest that we live in a society in which men are required to behave a certain way. In love, they're required to be as bad boy as possible by the behaviour of women, and the behaviour of women gets worse and worse as time goes on, quite frankly. And then in the home, they're expected to be very masculine.
Who requires you to be like this? Who is requiring you to act in that way?
Women require me to act in that way. Women require men to be extremely blokey. The more bad boy, the more attractive. They always go for the attractive one. You have created a marketplace of men
So interesting. Matthew.
Adam, I'd like to try and give you a bit of hope. I'm not here to condescend and I'm not here to have a bit of a bun fight with you after hearing what you've said. My partner says she loves me, despite being a 6'3" bloke that can handle himself, because of my sensitivity and because I'm a nice person that cares. Please don't let people put you off because you think you have to be something. You are perfectly fine as you are. This isn't intended to be condescending, but there will be somewhere that appreciates your nature in however you naturally are. Please don't put it under misandry and whatever else.
Adam, I'm going to just...
Could I come in on that?
Yes,
Is that all right? Because for as much as Matt, I understand your sentiment, I think things like that really aren't helping. And this kind of shows how people don't really understand the incel community, because an incel will come back straight away and say, well, you're 6'3", height is desirable in women. I'm 5'7", it's hopeless for me. It's not personality that counts. And what we need to do is we need to think about those types of arguments and what's wrong with those arguments and attacking at that level. That sort of generic advice is something that just bounces off of the incel rhetoric.
Okay. Adam, do you want to say anything else before we let you go, Adam?
No, I feel that sometimes at work men are required to be very submissive, very womanly, and this contrast with and then at other times they're expected not to have any emotions, be very masculine. Men are expected to be all things to all people, and it doesn't work. All
right, thank you so much. That's so fascinating, because of course the Andrew Tate model is to be, you know, that person with the biceps and smoking.
I will say,
and Adam thinks that the what is he? I can't really understand, because it's too. He thinks men need to be bad boys, but at the same time, women want them to be more sensitive. I don't really necessarily understand this sort of. I think he's just very, very cross.
I think very cross with women. It sounds.